The story of Frank Herbert's Dune is one of the most well-regarded in all of science fiction. Most sci-fi and fantasy franchises we know today owe some part of their existence to these brilliant books. As such, many have tried to adapt them into various films and television series, all to minimal success. The story is just so dense and filled to the brim with world building that it's difficult to know what to bring to the screen and what to keep on the page. Before stepping up to write and direct Dune, Denis Villeneuve was fast becoming a rival to Christopher Nolan as a unique sci-fi action thriller director. Blade Runner 2049 is a masterpiece and I think surpasses the original Ridley Scott classic. Arrival is a brilliant and original work of science fiction tension. Prisoners, Sicario, Enemy and Incendie, all too are examples of this man's sheer talent for storytelling. If Villeneuve wasn't able to adapt Dune, then I don't think anyone could. Now, having seen the film, those fears can be put to bed. This version of Dune finally serves the source material justice to epic proportions. It's so brilliant, in fact, that it's difficult to know where to start when talking about it. It's like walking into a buffet of all your favourite foods and figuring out where you want to begin tucking in. In keeping with the trend set by Blade Runner 2049, Dune looks absolutely stunning. The screen is never empty or devoid of anything gorgeous to look at, whether it be the locations like the rolling deserts, the amazing production design of all the costumes and sets, or the mind-blowing special effects of the spacecraft and sandworm. The cinematography captures all of this brilliantly, and if you were to go blind after watching this, you'd be content to live the rest of your life in darkness, knowing that you'd seen this. There are a few moments here and there in night scenes where the screen can become a little too dark, but if anything, this adds to the atmosphere. The same can be said for Dune sonically. Hans Zimmer was never not going to make a mind-bending score for this film. He's incapable of making bad music, and of course, Dune proves this once again. The soundtrack is outstanding, as is the sound design. It's atmospheric, immersive, and emotional at all the right points. One slight nitpick is that on a first viewing at least, I didn't really pick up on any notable themes, but that's not something that ruins the film in any way, shape, or form. The entire cast gives great performances. Of course, Timothée Chalamet as the lead of Paul Atreides, the heir to the dukedom of Arrakis, is great. Despite being quite small compared to a lot of the other actors, he carries the weight of this character in stride and gives a very regal performance, much akin to his outing in the Netflix original The King. Rebecca Ferguson gets a good amount to show off here and has one of the most intense roles of the film. Her and Chalamet work really well off of each other and provide some brilliant scenes. Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Jason Momoa and Stellan Skarsgård, all too, are great. Essentially, there's never a moment where an actor isn't giving one of the best performances of their career. A lot of press has been directed towards Zendaya and her minimal time on set for this. Yes, this does indeed show. She's only in a handful of scenes, and the majority of these are dream sequences that use repeated footage. Due to this, it's hard to judge her acting much, but from what you do see of her, she's certainly a compelling presence. The same can be said of Javier Bardem and Dave Bautista as well, who are both in this even less than Zendaya. Surely all three will be more important in the sequel, and from what I was given here, I look forward to seeing more of them. The most important part of Dune, though, is its story and world. After all, that's what made the book so popular. As you may know, this film is actually Dune Part 1, it's called as such at the beginning. Despite the fact it's half a story, it still feels rammed with content. The film is 2.5 hours long and it feels like it, in a good way. Dune feels epic and grand, much like Lord of the Rings. The story does end on a bit of a cliffhanger, but it doesn't feel like a sudden end or anything. It's written in such a way that the ending is satisfying while still leading on for more. With that being said though, I really hope this gets a sequel. The story isn't over, and I pray that it's completed in the next decade. Though herein lies my concerns with Dune. Even as a fan of the book myself, I felt like this film was chock full of lore and all sorts of information often spoken in the jargon of this universe. I can imagine that if this is your first introduction to the world of Dune, you will be hard pressed to fully grasp what's going on. In fact, a lot of people in the screening I was in were very open with how confused they were as to what was happening. With that in mind, now having seen the film, I can say with a lot of certainty this will probably go the way of Blade Runner 2049. Critics will adore it, but the audiences won't grab on, and I don't think it will see a lot of box office revenue. I so hope I'm wrong, but I really don't see it. Still, Warner Brothers have said they still want to make the sequel, so at least the story will be finished, even if it doesn't make the talented team behind it much money. Dune is the film of the year. Something truly brilliant will have to come along to top it. If you're a fan of the book, then this will be heaven to you. It's a grand, beautiful spectacle that encapsulates everything that made me fall in love with cinema in the first place. It's a lot deeper than Star Wars, and much more like a sci-fi version of Game of Thrones, so don't go in expecting a popcorn flick. But if you give it a chance, you may just find a new favourite franchise. Dune gets a Deight score of 10. Happy dating, you loners.